Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's kick things off with a story about a sleazy small-town business owner who thought he could underpay employees, spy on their personal lives, and still play mentor years later. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. My former boss outed me via security footage. 3 years later, I destroyed his ego in one conversation. My 19-year-old male cousin, 49-year-old female, has these friends, let's call them Sandra and Greg, married, that have over the years been kind of absorbed into my family. Every holiday and social event that would normally be just family, they always had an invitation. I think my cousin had a sort of family meeting with all the people who regularly host family stuff to ask them, but I'm not fully clear on that. Cut to me, 16 years old and looking for my first job, when at one of these family gatherings, Sandra and Greg tell everyone they're opening an ice cream shop. Greg has a local tech company and has been involved with local government in our small town, as well as owns properties he rents out. I jump at this opportunity, telling them I was looking for a job. A few months later, the place is ready to open and I have an interview. This should have been my first sign that things would be weird working for them, but that may just be in hindsight because I had nothing to compare it to at the time. The interview was at Greg's other company with a table of 3 interviewers, Greg, Sandra, and their general manager. The questions felt like they were trying to grill me on ice cream facts mostly, and when the interview was said and done, Greg admitted to just messing with me since he knew me. This job was an absolute nightmare. I only worked there for 10 months because I couldn't take it anymore. My opinion of those people changed from neutral to straight up hatred and disgust. I was the only employee on pay stubs with most of the other employees on direct deposit, and I would often have to remind him to pay me. He would normally say he just forgot, but it happened almost a dozen times, with my longest wait being a month and a half. We also had a shirt calendar where every employee had to wear a certain color work shirt depending on the day of the week. Many employees were written up for not wearing the correct shirt. Sandra and Greg would also let their friends hang out at the counter, throw pennies in our tip jar one after another. Every time we got a tip, we rung a bell and cheered, harass us, ask us personal questions, and a ton of other rude and intrusive stuff. The worst of it all, I came out to my work best friend at the closing shift out back behind the dumpsters, and Greg took the footage from the security cameras and sent it to my cousin, who then sent it to my parents. And it all came to my attention on the day of a huge family wedding in which both Sandra and Greg attended. This was a common occurrence. Greg got drunk a lot at home by himself and would watch the security cameras and call into the store to micromanage. I have plenty of stories about this place and could go on for pages, but on to the petty revenge. I quit during a season of firings because of a group chat leak that was essentially the employees crapping on the owners and manager, which I was on, but pretty neutral. The revenge comes in through a connection my mom has with this guy Evan, 45-year-old male. Evan's a high-level stockbroker for a major company, incredibly wealthy and successful, and worked with Greg on the Chamber of Commerce in our town briefly. My brothers and his kids have activities together, so we make conversation sometimes. Fast forward to 2 nights ago. I'm at a family outing to this vineyard for music and drinks, chocolate-covered pretzels for me, when Greg approaches me to ask me how college and work are going, now that you're Mr. Hollywood. For reference, I work in entertainment as a writer and creative consultant. I told him coldly that things were good, and he proceeded to ask me some condescending questions about my finances, and even went as far as to discourage me from pursuing my career even further, telling me I should drop out of school. Now, I would normally just take this kind of comment from family, but he isn't family, so I decided to say, yeah, well, Evan has been helping me out with my finances, to which his face lit up. My mom told me something a while back about how Greg really idolizes Evan, so I fully took advantage of that and furthered the conversation, saying, yeah, you've actually come up a few times in our conversations going over old income records. He said, oh, really? Well, what did you tell him? I gave him a blank stare and said, I told him whatever you think I told him. This made his smile drop, and I said, good luck patching that one up. I hear it's hard to get Evan's respect after you lost it. So devastatingly. Wouldn't know, though. He likes me, and I walked away. For more context, I didn't fully lie. Me and Evan had one conversation about Greg where he basically said he always thought he was a sleazy guy. The only thing I lied about was my changing Evan's opinion of him, which isn't true. Evan never respected him in the first place. My mom's a little upset I stirred the pot after 3 years, but I don't super give a crap. Pay your employees on time and don't change my punch-in code to virgin, and maybe better things will happen to you. Sounds like they're just awful people, and you did well to throw Greg under the bus, metaphorically speaking. And our second story. Wearing spiky jewelry, heavy makeup, and a ghost shirt? Must be an employee. A couple weeks ago, I was at my local Mart of Walls to buy hair dye. I was in the midst of my has-been hotel hyperfixation, so I had headphones in and head bopping to the soundtrack. The employee dress code's pretty lax there, but I wasn't wearing a vest, and my outfit was a little unprofessional regardless. I like to stick to a more edgy/alternative aesthetic, so baggy cargo pants, a t-shirt for the band Ghost, and nightmare-style Alice in Wonderland button-down, spiky jewelry, and intense makeup. Like thick black tears and big wings. Oh, and I was wearing 4-inch heels. And I can strut and dance and whatnot in these shoes, but I'm not willing to do a work shift at any jobs wearing those torture devices. Not that I'd be allowed regardless. Yet, as soon as I turned into the hair dye aisle, I made eye contact with an older woman, and she immediately beelined straight to me. She said something to me, so I take out a headphone, already slightly annoyed, having to pause my music. "You work here. Where's the baby powder?" I kind of stared at her for a second, then said, "No idea. I don't work here." But she insisted, "Of course you do. Ma'am, I haven't worked there since 2019, and they remodeled the entire store in 2022. I don't know where the baby powder is. I had to buy bed sheets 2 months ago, and it took me nearly 10 minutes to find them." I told her as much, and she got huffy as if I committed some terrible crime against her. I'm sure she feels that way. Honestly, just reminds me why I never want to work there again. And trust me, I've been asked to. When someone mistakes you for a worker, it's an honest mistake. When they try to argue with you about it and call you a liar, it's time for a F off, mate. And our last story. The road, the farm, the punishment. 5 years ago, while my farm was humming with tractor engines and buzzing cicadas, someone decided to plop a gated community half a mile down the road. Round fountains, wrought iron lamps, and houses that looked like each one had a spare Maserati tucked inside. Even when they were just digging foundations, they were dumping chunks of concrete and plastic cups along the edges of my pasture. I'd politely haul their trash back to the site, leave it on the trailer porch with a note that read, "In case you forgot, this is yours." All I got in return was the foreman's snobby stare and a hand gesture you won't find in the Unicode standard. The build wrapped up and ta-da, an HOA sprung to life. Picture manicured lawns, a guard shack, and a gate that only lifted for bumper stickers and glittery license plate frames. One afternoon, I figured I'd save myself a 3-mile detour and cut through their shiny new road. The guard in a starched white shirt rested his palm on his holster. "Private property, sir. Residents only." Fine. If they won't let me through, no skin off my nose. Or so I thought. Wrong. This spring, while I was laid up getting my hip replaced, an asphalt ribbon sprouted along my north boundary, right where my land dips into a rocky ravine. The new road tied their back gate straight to the highway. No one bragged about it. No letters, no offers, no easement paperwork in my mailbox. I walked the survey stakes. Their pavement sliced off a clean 3 acres. Unproductive land, sure. Covered in boulders, but hell, it was mine. Next morning, I fired up my old Dodge, dragged a rust-patched hay wagon over, and parked it crosswise on their shortcut, let the air out of the tires, unhitched the tongue, then nailed up a sign, "Private property, detour where the sun sets." Within an hour, a Jeep in inflated ego bronze rolled up. Out hopped 3 people. HOA president, Mr. Wilkins, wearing a blazer worth more than my yearly feed bill, Mrs. Wilkins in runway-sized sunglasses, and a lawyer clutching a briefcase thicker than a handbook on arrogance. "Mr. Finley," the lawyer squinted at his papers, "you're obstructing a road that belongs to our association." "Belongs, huh? Mind telling me which county office handed you title to my parcel?" I grinned. Mrs. Wilkins curled her lip. "Surely it's obvious. You haven't used that rock pile in years. No harm done. It was an eyesore for everyone. Now it's convenient." "Convenience ain't a currency, ma'am," I answered. She hissed that I'd be sorry once they sued the boots off me. I figured it was just a spoiled rich kid's bluff. Nope. A week later, I'm served. HOA versus Finley. They wanted the junk, my wagon, removed. Damages for interference and a permanent free easement. Whoever drafted it must think a farm is an ATM. What they didn't know, my cows aren't my only paycheck. I lease out gravel rights on another corner of the property, enough income to keep a sharp lawyer on retainer. Enter Mr. Day, grizzled, 60-ish, tough as boot leather, and loyal to my late father. He cracked the paperwork and straightened his tie. Let him swing. I'll take my fee as a cut of whatever we squeeze out of him. I love a bully. In court, the HOA attorney waxed poetic about adverse possession. Your Honor, the defendant neglected this land for over 10 years. The community, in good faith, built a road. Day leaned on his cane, eyebrow raised. Road 6 months old, Your Honor. Satellite photos, asphalt invoices, take your pick. Good faith evaporated the moment their bulldozer crossed a boundary without written consent. And here's my trespass complaint filed with the sheriff. Their one bet that a poor farmer couldn't afford a fight just folded. The judge, a broad-shouldered woman who'd grown up ranching, banged the gavel. HOA has shown neither easement rights nor statutory possession. Dismissed. Then came dessert. Compensation for unauthorized use, 16 months of fair market rent. My choice, they remove the road or deed it over to me. All court costs on their dime. I took the road. Next week, I welded up a 6-foot steel gate and painted it pepper red. Across the panels, big block letters, no through traffic, turn around where you're welcome. Below that, a little farmer cartoon tipping his hat. When Mr. Wilkins rolled back with a fresh lawyer and saw the gate, his jaw dropped lower than Bitcoin in 2022. You can't do this. I've got a court order, I said, leaning on the latch. Road's mine, gate's mine, and the air around us is public, free to inhale. But our residents now have a 5-mile detour. Roads are metaphors for life's journey, I smiled. Maybe the extra miles will teach them respect. Just then, Mrs. Wilkins screeched up in her white SUV, window down, eyes blazing. You pathetic little farmer, look at your barn, your boots. You think you've won? I know I have, I nodded, because no pair of shiny loafers changes the fact that the dirt beneath them might belong to the same pathetic farmer. Safe travels, ma'am. The gate clanged shut, echoes rolling across the valley. Now, every time I hear their engines whining over the hill, I picture that red reminder burning their retinas. And as I'm topping off the water troughs, I can't help grinning. Nothing sweeter than pride colliding with rocky reality. They called me a dumb farmer. Well, this dumb farmer now owns a private 3-acre expressway, a check big enough for a new tractor, and a lesson money can't buy. Never underestimate someone who knows how to count his acres. Never underestimate someone who knows exactly what they own and how to protect it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.